Decades after the end of the system, many of Gauteng's hostels remain overcrowded, unsafe and unfit for human habitation. Despite repeated promises from government to transform these aging structures into decent family housing units, thousands of people still live there in squalor. Now, the Department of Human Settlements in the province is expected to visit several hostels in the Johannesburg inner city. Newzroom Afrika's Veronica Makhoali is live to us outside Jeppe Hostel. Veronica, perhaps one of the more well-known hostels in the Johannesburg inner city, and well-known not for the right reasons.
Certainly, Michelle. In fact, the infamous, characterization of hostels is not just to Jeppe's itself. It's really, in sense, the culture of hostels that have really had a bad name in terms of not just the issue of overcrowding, not just the issue of poverty, but the dilapidating state of some of those buildings. And we've seen as well that because of these issues that have been festering in these hostels, we've also seen them become crime havens in some cases. But this is exactly what the City of Johannesburg, as well as the Provincial Government Department of Human Settlements, is trying to counter the way in which hostel culture is by providing residents with dignity and decent living. You'd also remember, Michelle, that a part of the hostel culture is that women are not allowed, and this has made it quite difficult for some of the people who live in these conditions to have families in there, and they're trying, of course, to change that. But doing that is going to cost quite a lot of money, and the reality on the ground for some of the residents is that it has taken quite some time, specifically about the promises made. And at the current moment, we are actually inside one of the refurbished hostel rooms here. This humble room houses about 14 men that essentially live here. And I'm joined by Ndade Mandla, who is a resident here, just to talk us through about what the living conditions here are like, and also how the refurbishment plan by the city is not just a PR need, but a need for their dignity. Ndade, thank you so much for your time. I know that they call you Mandoza in this area, in this community. Tell us, how long have you been living here, and just the living conditions before the major project was done?
Ngiyabonga sisami unginikeza le chance. Igama lami nguMandoza bangibiza ngalo. Nguhlongwane. Sengihlalela ehostela maybe more than 2 decades. Ngifike ngama early 2000. Impilo esiphilayo la ehostela sinobuholi bezinduna. Lapho sithola khona umthetho oshayela umthetho nje. Ukufika kwami ngifike ngaphansi kwenduna uMahlaba. Njengamanje siphethwe induna ubaba Makhathini uCulu ohlala khona la ngaphansi kwehostela. Ngokwe culture la ehostela silandela lokho esisuka nako emakhaya. Njengokuthi uma ngabe wonile icala lakho hlala phansi phambi kwenduna ukhulunywe enduneni lithethwe lapho, isinqumo sithathwa lapho. Awuzenzeli nje ukuthi uvele ungene wenze noma kanjani la ehostela. Yebo. Lokho nje kusho.
And Ndade, before the need to change this hostel, what was it like living with 14 men here in terms of access to electricity, to water, and just some of the basic needs that you and those that you stay with needed?
Angifuna ukuqamba manga dadewethu bekunzima kakhulu. Ikakhulukazi nje mozokhuluma ngogesi. Ugesi lana bo usihambela ngaso sonke isikhathi usinqamukela. Ngalesikhathi usinqamukela zona izinduna izona kade zicoordinate ukuthi abantu abahlanganisa imali kutholakala umuntu ozolungisa ngoba bengasaservice hospital amahostela. Amanzi ke angikhuluma indaba yawo bekuze kuzange kuhlanganise lelo pipe ukuthi kuzotholakala amanzi. Bekunzima kakhulu ngoba njengoba ubona nje manje dadewethu ufika kuhle. Sekukuhle ngempela. Bengajabulisa indawo ehlala kuyo. Ama toilet bongeke uthande kuwabona nje bekungasi indawo enempilo. Bekunzima kakhulu. Ilokho nje ngakusho siswa.
And Ndade, before the revitalization of this hostel, there were many promises over the years. This is one of many across Johannesburg. I know that at the moment there's around 5 in this area. Why do you think it has taken so long for the city and the provincial government to start implementing change after the fact that you've been here for more than 2 decades?
Yeah, ngiyaphinda futhi ngiyasho ukuthi ngingakufaka okwendawo ehlala kuyo njengasehostela. Mhlawumbe ama-hostel angasho ukuthi abe thatheka kancane, athatheka ngathini. Bayaphuza ukuletha ilokhu njana intuthuko ema-hostela ngoba kuyindawo mhlawumbe abayithatha ukuthi hayi indawo yabantu mhlawumbe abayiziwengu or igebengu. Njengoba kade ngishilo kwetadewethu ekuqaleni ukuthi asizenzeli la e-hostela sinomthetho sinenduna. Ngiyabonga nje njengamanje ngoba lawo bantu abasemagunyeni njengabo khansela ini bakwazile ukuthi belethe intuthuko njengamanje nje sihleli kahle njengoba ubona nje kuhle bayalungisa ugesi bayaqhubeka njengamanje nje sime ku-60% mengasho ngomsebenzi owenziwe ngaphakathi. Yabona nje laphansi kwenziwe konke ayikho into engaserviswanga sisevise yonke into ngoba bayasho ukuthi baya-renovate. Yebo.
Kalewanda Demandoza, thank you for your time. Michelle, just listening to the remarks there from Demandla about how the living conditions here were, and many of the residents here grateful for what it looks like. I'm just going to ask my colleague Morena just to take a look around the room to show you that, already the need for basic amenities were needed here. This is just the kind of conditions that some of the residents live here, and it shows you that they've already had such a simple life, and it's been years really of asking the government to provide some of those basic amenities. You heard the issue of access to electricity, access to water as well, and the most important thing as well that we heard from the government is that this will be happening not just in some of the areas where they will be improving for the men's hostel, but they are trying also to create a better living environment where families can live together, where families can come. And this is going to be quite a heavy price tag. We heard from the MMC of housing that it will come at a price tag around 10 billion. Where the city of Johannesburg will get that amount of money from, he said that they'll be working with some of the private partnerships, the provincial government as well, putting its effort in. But the reality is, even as we speak now, there are some projects that are taking place and some that have been left abandoned. The government still has an issue when it comes to contractors and finishing off those projects, but the lives of many are changing, and this does need to happen at a far more rapid pace, given the fact that these promises were made at least more than 10 years ago. Michelle.
So Veronica, we've been saying that the Department of Human Settlements in the province will be doing visits to several of these hostels. When do those visits commence, and what's going to be the point of those visits? Will we see timelines put in place?
Yeah, that's a very important question, Michelle. We saw, of course, the MEC for Human Settlements, Tasmin Motari, visiting about 5 of the hostels today. They say, of course, that this is an ongoing plan and that they will be seeing other parts of Gauteng. We know that some of those include around Soweto. We know that Pretoria also has some of those issues when it comes to hostels. But the timeline is, of course, the most prominent and important question, given the fact that we've been hearing about this revitalization plan even before this current administration. It has been something that has been promised to residents for some time. And apart from that, Michelle, you'd have to understand that Gauteng bears the brunt of the housing crisis in the country. We've got 1.2 million people waiting on waiting lists just for decent housing. And so you'd understand that it is going to be quite difficult, as they'll have to handle the issue of the housing crisis in hostels, the issue of mushrooming informal settlements, and of course, that issue of abandoned buildings and houses across the province.